Now then, going to be reacting to a Sargon video. If you want to watch this without me talking, the link is in the description. You can find it there and be on your way. But if you want to stay and hear what I have to say from my perspective, then feel free to continue watching the video along with me. So let's get into this.
Man, it feels like everyone's radicalizing at the moment, doesn't it? We've got the incels radicalizing. We've got the young women radicalizing. And now, according to The Guardian, we've got the boomers radicalizing. So really just everyone's radicalizing. Everyone's just...
Gee, I wonder why. But I'll not get into a tangent quite yet. I'll let Sargon continue.
Society has torn itself apart because of the ideology we were supposed to all believe, international liberal globalism, turns out isn't really an ideology for anyone other than the managerial elite is embodied by Keir Starmer. You have to be that boring, not having a favourite film or book or poem, not even dreaming, and these are all things he's told us, by the way, to be the kind of person who believes, truly, sincerely believes, in the kind of rules-based proceduralism, inhuman, mechanical-brained machine man.
Yeah, I mean, just to interject, maybe it's just a product of the British Parliament and British politics being so old, essentially, running from 1066 to now. We've inbuilt these, I don't know, invested interests where people have to be almost squeaky clean or as squeaky clean as possible to get into office. And, famously we had Theresa May. Yeah, I'm sure it was Theresa May. Yeah, Theresa May, who said that the worst thing she'd ever done was run through a farmer's field, I think. Which, okay, that's naughty, but my days, that's like, I did that by accident recently. I could have gone two ways once I got over the stile, and I went left rather than right. And before I knew it, I was looking at myself thinking, I'm not meant to be here, am I? I continued and cut through. And nobody said anything to me, luckily. But yeah, that's the worst thing she's ever done. Then it just kind of goes to show you how sterile British politics is. They want people that are so easily controlled. They either have something on them or they don't, and then they're made to do whatever the powers that be want them to do.
You have to be Keir Starmer. That's the kind of person that this current consensus serves. And so everyone's just pulling apart in all kinds of directions. And so now we have The Guardian being like, well, I can't believe the boomers are radicalizing. It's like, I can believe it. I actually can believe it. So this is a series of...
A bit late to the game, sort of the boomers been waiting for them to get with it for the longest part. For instance, when, was it, I think, Rule Britannia, it was it didn't top the charts, but it came second and third because the boomers were disorganized. Whereas if that was Gen Z or something trying to do something, they would have achieved it because it'd be more coordinated. So the boomers maybe putting their ego to the side and maybe realizing that they have played some contributing role into how things have gotten has obviously helped us move forward, I think, in terms of having productive conversations.
Interviews with libtards, I guess we'll call them, whose family members are like, oh, right.
And I'll carry on.
I'm actually not a libtard. I'm actually a normal person from 30 years ago. So I hold particular views about my nation and my place in the world. And I'm connected to the things around me, the country around me, the people around me. And all of the people being interviewed with The Guardian are like, well, I don't relate to this at all. Yeah, I bet you don't. But actually, there is something quite important here. Anyway, this Graham doesn't remember when...
Just before he carries on then, anyway, I will quickly say, people who've been following Sargon for quite a while will know that he used to be referred to himself as a liberal, a classical liberal, I suppose. And it was interesting in that I kind of saw myself in similar molds. I didn't agree with all Sargon's opinions, but I, sort of similarish vein, classical liberal, don't tell me what to do, etc. But then I noticed last year, Sargon, who is atheist, but I know he doesn't attend to church, but he's still atheist. He turned on liberalism. Now, at the time, still being a liberal myself, I was like, well, I get your points, maybe. These are some compelling arguments why liberalism has sort of eroded away at the at society. But irrespective of that, I was unable to see a way through how I wouldn't be liberal, because I felt it was something inbuilt into my nature. But this past Christmas, when I came to Christ and I was born again, a lot of my opinions changed through communion with God, where He essentially spent 2 weeks sort of changing my mind, setting me on His path. And as a result of that, I did become more authoritarian. So I find that quite interesting. I've suddenly got a hardline stance on many things that I didn't have before, and this didn't come from like propaganda and somebody with, like another person, a friend, trying to compel me, or any videos I watched straight from the source itself. So anyway,
his mother got political. She'd never shared her political views because she was living in a web of relationships, right? She was related to her friends, her family, her mum, her dad, her children, but also the place. And this place had a kind of psychic residue on it for her. She looked around and it was all familiar, and then she'd watch the TV and see the way the rest of the country was going, or she'd go and travel and she'd be like, yep, no, this is all pretty familiar. This is all the way things are going.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it was the same here for my experience as well, like until like the past 10 to 15 years. On the TV, everything feels familiar, normal. I don't feel like anything's particularly trying to propagandize you. I mean, I noticed it a little bit, I think, but it wasn't like, it isn't what it is now. And then now we see media where it has completely warped.
And how they should be going. And in the past few years, that psychic network, the web that we have on the world, has been broken. It's like, oh, wait, what the hell is happening? Everything's going completely back to front. Why is this happening? I need to join a political party that I think will do something about it, right? That's what this is. Graham's mother, after COVID, who's retired in her 60s, supports the hard-right agitator and convicted criminal Tommy Robinson, with what her son describes as a religious fervour.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit it's something I had to get over at some point. I had to swallow my own pride and realise that Tommy, irrespective of some of his actions and opinions in the past, is generally trying to do the right thing, I believe. So his name brings with it, a certain stink, I suppose, as Farage would say, but I don't really like Farage. If I was going to choose out of them two, I'd obviously choose Tommy and not Farage. Farage is controlled opposition, in my opinion.
Okay, she has told him that Keir Starmer is a communist. Basically true. Like, not literally true. He used to be a communist when he was a student. Now he's just one of the managerial, globalist, liberal elites who want equality of outcome and open movement, freedom of movement, and all this sort of stuff. Infinite human rights for everyone. So he's a communist, just not in procedure. He's a communist in spirit. But yeah, basically true. And he's trying to replace us all with Muslims. Well, he did call them the face of modern Britain.
Yes, correct. He did call them the face of modern Britain. And obviously, eventually, I suppose, within a couple of generations, their birth rate matches ours, but it doesn't while you're letting them come through the door at a frantic rate without even checking where they're coming from.
Recently, didn't he? He literally said that the Muslims are the face of modern Britain. And if you're some retired lady in her 60s, like, what the hell is happening here? This is a bit weird. I thought normal British people were the face of Britain in every...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like, I'm a bit hypocritical. I've got a mask on, so, it's not like I'm ever going to be the face of Britain. But at the same time, you would hope it'd be somebody like, Carl here or any other sort of genuine British person,
Every time, regardless of what era we're in. And so you can see why she's got a bit concerned about this issue. I went to see her a few nights ago, and everything started off as normal. Then the conversation just switched. All of a sudden, it was about Muslims in prisons forcing others to convert at knife point, and somehow Starmer became a part of it, and I just had to leave. I've been trying to help her, but I don't...
Well, of course, Starmer. Of course, Starmer's... I can't get my words out. Of course, Starmer's part of it. He could enact policy to correct what is occurring. He's the Prime Minister, and while he ignores the problem, he is in some regard complicit. Not completely complicit, but complicit nevertheless. If there is a problem of which is not being dealt with, which the whole British public wants to be dealt with and is not being dealt with, then the buck stops with him, unfortunately.
I don't really understand politics, and I end up making it worse. We've always been close, but I feel like I'm losing it. No, it's that bit. I don't really understand politics.
Yeah, that's an annoying thing when people have to get invested in a debate that they aren't even that aware of themselves. Just sort of feel like they need to be involved in it.
Right. Look at the framing of this Guardian article. Well, I mean, I was just a normal person who had never watched the news and never taken an interest in moral philosophy or politics or anything about the world around me. I was a babe in the woods, and suddenly my mum had gone mad, and she starts spouting off about Tommy Robinson. It's like, that's the kind of person you have to be to believe the narrative the Guardian wants you to believe, so their radical left-wing agenda can.
Yeah, and there's no chance I believe any of the media, like The Guardian, Daily Mail, any of these broadsheets, or, well, they're not even broadsheets anymore, but any of these newspapers, etc. Even like, I would say, even majority of the media, including GB News. GB News have shown that they're just a mouthpiece now for reform. So, yeah, sad, really. Unfortunately, those YouTubers, I suppose, are one of the best forms of getting news. Not me, though. I'm not claiming to do news. I suppose I'm just, at the minute, I'm just a reaction channel.
Proceed unchecked. That's the kind of person they're pitching this to. Graham has never had a clear idea of what exactly his mother is consuming on her screen, so how did she become radicalized? Okay, well, how about this? Maybe she watched Talk TV, right? Because, as you can see, Talk TV 11 months ago did this little segment here about how non-Muslim prisoners are being converted at knife point in prisons. Now, instead of being like, well, I mean, I've no idea, something about Muslims in prisons forcing others to convert knife point. Well, if they are actually doing that, that's a bit of a concern, isn't it? And that's something you'd be like, well.
And I will just say as well, here from a Christian perspective, I understand the notion that we cannot be compelled to come to Christ. It is a choice we make. So anybody who has foreseeably tried to make somebody become Christian is working against God, because he gives us all free will. So thereby forcing somebody to do something against their will is outside of God's plan, unless they obviously agree in terms of like employment, etc. It's a bit more complicated. But in this instance, being made to conform to a religion, whether that be Islam or Christianity, God is not cool with it. God wants us to choose. He wants us to make the choice, and that choice is Christianity as well. But maybe that's a bit too contentious for the Muslims to deal with.
Okay, is that right? Do you support that? I don't really understand politics. Okay, you don't have to really understand politics to know that in Britain, Muslim prisoners forcing conversions at knife point is a bit sinister. And actually, we don't want that in this country, right? You surely.
I know I nodded, but yes, I was just agreeing with Sargon. We do not want that. And if it continues happening, I foresee bad things most likely occurring.
Know enough about morality and the way that Britain is to know that that's what you want. And so you'd be like, well, what's she consuming? Mainstream talk TV. That's it. Really normal things about things that are happening in the country. That's what she's consuming. She's looking at the way that the country is, and she's not happy. But as I say, he's far from alone in grappling with the sometimes extreme rightward political drift of an older relatives. While so much research and concern is focused on radicalization in young people, particularly young men, it's the women who have become.
I mean, everybody, the media, sorry, let me get my thoughts together. Social media and just the media at large are trying to brainwash both men and women. I think maybe men feel more acutely that what's happening to women seems we observe it happening to them rather than it happening to us. And the same reverse, I suppose. Women obviously seeing men to some degree being radicalized by some social media, like, say, Andrew Tate's, where you think that it's okay just to have sex with as many women as possible. So we're both noticing it in each other, but maybe not addressing it in ourselves, I think. And there's a lot of pride attached to this, narcissism and entitlement, toxic sort of. I don't know. I don't want to say toxic narcissism because that almost seems like a tautology. But I mean, it's the awful equivalent, I suppose, of the toxic empathy on the other side, where people almost destroy their countries through feeling empathy for other people that have no sense of empathy towards them. Anyway, sorry, I'll carry on with the clip.
Radical, less is understood about the effects of a fragmenting political and media landscape and increasingly online boomers. Generation now about 60 to 80. Yeah, I mean, from our own anecdotal evidence online, the AI slop really is one-shotting the boomers. Polls have indicated that, on average, we get more conservative as we age, and the generation gap shows signs of growing. Yeah, because younger people now are not growing more conservative because they don't have the conservative priors required to lean into as they grow older, because they've grown up in an intransigently liberal culture that decries traditionalism in every way. And so
Yeah, I would say Sagon's correct there, and I'll leave my video here for now anyway. I just wanted to sort of broadly give my thoughts. Don't want to labour the point, and I'll see you in the next video.